Welcome back to Open. So, Istanbul, the attack in this airport left at least 41 people dead and 147 people wounded. The attack began shortly before 10 p.m. on Tuesday, Turkish officials said, when two gunmen opened fire with automatic weapons at a security checkpoint outside Istanbul's Ataturk Airport, one of Europe's busiest airports. So no group has claimed responsibility for this attack. And here to discuss violence in the Middle East and the call for peace is Sheikh Musa Drama. Thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely.
So earlier reports for this this attack claimed that it was for the Islamic State, but no group is claiming responsibility for that. So talk to us about this attack and the troubling message of claiming this for something.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, let me begin by bringing our Ramadan greeting to the BronxNet family.
Thank you.
We have a wonderful family here. And second, I want to remind your audience that there are millions and millions of fasting Muslims who have opened their doors, their business doors, their house of worship doors, their homes and their hearts to their neighbors. They are feeding their neighbors. They are fellowshipping with their neighbors, and they are living and promoting peace throughout the world. These criminals, regardless of what religion they affiliate or cultural background they may come from, they will never ever represent 1.6 billion peace-loving Muslims. Islam can never ever be equal to violence, and Muslims can never ever subscribe to a violent act that is being perpetrated in the name of Islam. Now, I'll give you 3 examples. I just came from San Francisco because I was not fasting. Muslims, when you travel, you don't fast.
Okay.
And I went to this restaurant that happened to be run by a Yemeni family. And all of a sudden, an African-American woman walks in. I'm sure she's in her late, maybe 20s, begging for food. And all of a sudden, she walked up to the garbage bin and looking for food and walked out. Then a couple of seconds later, came back in and head directly to the counter and asked this boy behind the counter for food. And the boy was looking for bread in a very not maybe so nice place. All of a sudden, the boss came and took out one of the freshest bread from the counter and asked the boy to stuff it up for her, wrap it in the nicest way, and give it to her. As soon as she walked out, I came up and I said, why did you do that? And the boss said, what do you mean? I said, why did you give this lady the best part of what you're selling? The guy said, no, I'm Muslim. And in Islam, God said we give out of the best that we have, what we feed our family. I don't want my employer to give this lady what I don't eat. Now, I quoted from the Arabic version exactly what he just said in English. He couldn't believe it. He said, you're a Muslim? And I said, yes. We hug and cry together. I took a lot of pictures. I did interview. So what I'm saying is that is Islam, and that's San Francisco. And if you go to the area where that took place, it is the most drug-infested area in San Francisco. All I'm saying is that we have to bring the public back to what Islam is. Islam is about peace. And Prophet said 3 times, he said, by God, you are not a believer if you don't treat your neighbors the same way you treat your family. By God, you are not a believer if you are hostile to your neighbors. By God, you are not a believer if you don't love your neighbors the same way you love yourself. If you go to my Facebook yesterday, I posted a quote from the Prophet. Prophet said, went to Mecca. You see, the holiest place in Islam is the Kaaba, where every Muslim is mandated once in their lifetime to go there. Prophet went to the Kaaba and was going around. And while he was going around telling the Kaaba, how beautiful you are, how sanctified you are, how holy you are. And while at the same time he said that, but with all the sanctity you have, Muslim blood and his property is holier to God than the Kaaba, the holiest place in Islam. These are criminals that have no religion, no cultural background, and we should never ever associate them with Islam.
So how do we promote understanding? What can we do? What are you doing to help promote understanding, a true understanding of what the Islam faith is, what it means to be Muslim? Because I think we're looking at this chaos in the Middle East, things that are happening there, and these disturbances and these attacks, and we've seen it over the last few months. This is for ISIS, or this is for. So how do we promote how are you promoting what Islam is? Like how can we get not only our own country but the world to understand that this is a small piece of not a larger picture, right?
Absolutely. What we're doing, and thank you to the BronxNet, who made our voices global. For the past 6 years, we have been tirelessly committed to making sure that we remove all the barriers. These are barriers that are made by men: racial barriers, religious barriers, cultural barriers, class barriers, political barriers, you name it. So we're saying we are all the children of Adam and Eve. And if you don't believe creation, then you believe evolution. And if it's evolution, then we are the children of monkeys out of Africa. Either way, we are family.
Right.
Therefore, all the barriers do not make us different. That's number one. Number two, as a tax-paying citizen, I will tell my government, stop funding factions in the Middle East. Today, before I came, I Googled how many factions are operating out of Syria. BBC said there are over 1,000 groups. Some of them are armed by America, some of them are armed by Russia, some of them are armed by France, some of them are armed by different groups of the world.
So we have to
the
stop
first
that.
thing we have to do
Right.
as tax-paying is to be frank with our government and saying, stop the hypocrisy, stop funding these people. These criminals never ever manufacture a single weapon. Where are they getting these weapons, these hammers?
Right.
Who supply them the bullets? Our government.
Right.
And now what we're doing here is we're mobilizing all the tax-paying citizens to tell their government, stop the hypocrisy. These people are not fighting because they have the weapons. They are fighting because you supply them the weapons. Right. Third thing that we do, as a Muslim, I'm a parent, I'm a New Yorker. You see, I was here 9/11. What we're doing is, I was in Israel, and my wife is going to Israel next week. All we're doing is that we said the relationship between Muslims and the Jews perhaps is the mother of all excuses used by the terrorist group that claim to be Muslims. Let's show visible symbol that Muslims and Jews have the same exact grandfather, worship the same God, and like the same thing. Even though there's a hostility in the Middle East, that should not cause these criminals to continue to use the same problems to kill innocent people. That's what we're doing here.
So we have about a minute and a half, a minute left. So give us, as a Muslim, give us a blessing, talk to us about moving forward, what we can do, those of us that are not Muslim, how we can understand and what we should be doing.
Yeah, number one, the first thing is that do not watch Fox 5. That's number one. Number two, do not learn Islam from the media. Number three, please get to know Muslims. Sit down with them, have a cup of tea with them, do what BronxNet is doing. Associate with Muslims, and you will find that we are all the same. We just want to live in the best community, send our children to the best school, and we want our lives, our properties, and our honor to be protected by everybody. And therefore, if that is what we want, that is exactly what we're obligated to our fellow Bronxites. That is the message that Islam identify with, not the criminals who are harming innocent people.
Thank you, Sheikh. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so moving on. We had a show at the Riverside Church, and they actually the Riverside Church had a show, and they commemorated the 101st anniversary of Juneteenth. BronxNet's reporter Veronica Guiti has more on this story. Juneteenth is